to solve it, what are you trying to get? What
You
is
get
it?
the zeros. Yeah.
Oh, the
It's a
zeros.
quick way to get to the zeros of things that are not easily factorable or easy to complete the square.
Okay.
So,
Wait, hold on. Every time we start the video, we should start off talking about something completely unrelated. Why? So like the video cuts in. It's just
nobody
like,
watches these. I just record them as like a thing I do. It's just part of my. But no, but it's not like somebody's out there on YouTube. You know what? If somebody I was about to say somebody random comments. Yeah, if you comment with the secret code word, I'll send you something. No, I don't have the money to do that.
Make sure to smash that sub button.
Yeah,
Smash that
like,
button
subscribe, and comment. Or
to enter my
leave me
giveaway.
some comments what you want to see in the next video.
Dude, just
I
click
want to
me.
see math.
Click me.
Tell me in the comments what color I should dye my hair next. We'll,
Crazy teacher.
Really
Everyone calls teaching.
Okay. Can we refocus? Nobody watches these videos. Let's move on.
What? Like every video has quite a few views.
I really don't think so.
Yeah, we've got like 20 views.
Has 5 views.
Probably parents who don't know how to help their kids with homework.
Yeah, those are
I mean,
people who are
I'm not
watching.
saying that as an insult. Things have changed. Like how we teach math has changed. And although your parents could easily know the math, how we now do it is very different. So like even the idea of finding the difference between a positive and a negative and using 0 as a stopping point wasn't something we did back even like 15 years ago. But moving on with life, because I would like to give you guys some time to work on your homework, the quadratic formula, aside from just being a catchy song with a dude on a mountain, is the easy way to find the zeros of any quadratic formula or any quadratic equation, including ones with imaginary zeros, which we're not there yet, but that will wrap in with why quadratic equation, right? That wraps in. So, think about this. Hold up. Think about this. X squared minus 3x minus 7. Go ahead and write that down in your notes if you would like. And by that I mean I would like you to write that down in your notes. So, if we use zero product property and we try to factor this, what factors could work? So think about your binomial form. Do your calculator.
2 and 5.
Yes.
So
We didn't have instructions.
get your mind.
We didn't have instructions.
Oh yeah, you have one.
Mario, Jumpman, Mario.
Yeah, so, yeah, graphing. Sorry, we need graphing today.
Wait,
No, I got you, dude.
you could do like 2 and 5.
Hold on, don't graph it yet. Don't graph it yet. Think in your head. Using zero product property, we think factoring to the binomials. Is there a way to add to -3 and multiply to -7?
You lied to us. So
If I lie to you, it's only for educational purposes.
no, what are you completing a square?
You what?
Can I come up there?
Sure, I don't care.
Okay.
I don't really ever care, as long as you don't confuse
So
people.
like when are I mean I don't know, it could just be me. But like so x plus 3. What?
It's off. I need to reorient. I didn't know you were
Let's
going to
add
ask
5
them
to
up
both
here.
sides and then it's possible.
Okay. If we add 5 to both sides?
Yeah, that's possible.
X
We can do
plus
How does a -2 help our cause?
3.
we
No,
can,
x
no wait, hold on. I'm confused here.
3
Or multiplying
squared
negative
equals
or adding.
2. So you said
Right.
that we could just take the opposite of this
Adding
and
the
this
negative 3.
to get the zeros.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
He said it
So
works
it's negative
sometimes.
2.
If it's in quadratic form, if it's equal to 0, you can take the opposite of your factors.
Wait, so if this was equal to 0, and you could say it's -3.
Okay. If that's what makes it 0.
Because I
But
tried.
what you had written up there at first, we wouldn't be trying to find a 0, we'd be trying to find a 2.
Yeah, I tried that on a couple questions and it didn't work.
I think because you misunderstood
I misunderstood.
the application of the rule.
Okay, I tricked myself into thinking that.
So this is where I need you to stick with where we're at. You keep thinking like way deeper than where we are, and you let your brain like go 8 steps ahead, and you don't get the foundation. And you're out here like trying to build the second story, and like there's no foundation built. You know what I mean? It's like
building up in the air.
seriously, you gotta stay with us at the foundational level. And this is almost exactly what I was talking about with my last class and how smart you guys are. your brains, how they're wired, as soon as somebody tells you the base level of something, you want to go up here and like get real challenging stuff. But if you don't have this set up, you're gonna run into like what you ran into with the practice work you were talking about. So if we try to zero product property this, it doesn't work out very well.
It does.
Okay, I thought you guys said it didn't. What are the factors?
It's negative 1.5 and x, and then you.
So x minus 1.5 or?
Minus 1.5.
Equals
You need to add, and then that equals 9.25.
So this squared?
Yeah, equals 9.25.
How'd you get there? What'd you do?
I can explain that one.
I mean, Thomas hit me with it, so go ahead.
Negative 3 divided by 2, because there isn't a coefficient on the first one.
Okay.
On A. Then that would, and then you take that and you square it to get C, which should be 2.25. And then to get to 2.25, you need to add 9.25.
So we're saying, how do I get to 2.25? We add 9.25 to both sides. So then, if I shift this back to the quadratic form, it'd be x minus 1.5 squared minus 9.25. That in itself tells us a specific point on the graph, but not the 0.
Wait.
So hang on, we're going to investigate what that does tell us. Now graph this in your calculator. So go to y equals and graph this.
Oh, yeah.
How do you get x's?
The button that is xtv,
Oh,
whatever, it's like got a few variables.
Beta
How do you get
and
this data
theta and
in it?
beta.
Suffer until something works.
Oh, I pressed the caret button and now everything's an exponent.
So then space over, or right click, or like right click, not right click.
Right
you know
arrow.
What I mean. Yeah, right arrow over.
Wait.
Right D-pad.
No, I need
What?
to see the.
What?
He needs to
Remember when I always tell you to have books out?
Yeah.
X squared minus 3x minus 7. I'm tired of nobody having a book out.
Equals 0. I don't mind for it.
By the way, this button in Desmos immediately squares, so instead of having to use the caret.
So it still has my Mario drawing. So why do you still have a Mario?
No, I don't, and you don't in your calculator either. Because the equals 0 is us putting it in quadratic form to find the zeros. This is the function. So what you should have in your calculator is y equals that. Do not type the equals 0 because then it will just give you vertical lines at the zeros. Remember, if I type equals 0, it just gives me those verticals.
It appears to be, one of them appears to be negative 1.541193.
So if you in the TI, now hang on, like you maybe know how to do this, you maybe don't. In the TI, if you type, click, like once you have your graph shown, what are you doing? Where's your graph? Type it in. I mean, it doesn't work for you. What are we doing? That's no good.
One of them's 4.6.
So it graphs your problem. Then hit trace, hit second trace. And even if you hit it once, you can still hit second trace. Then go to minimum. So option 3, click it, and notice a little blinking crosshairs opens up. At the bottom of your screen, you'll notice it says left bound. You want to click somewhere to the left of what you're looking for. So if this is what we're looking for, click anywhere over here, but not way out here. You want to try to get close. Okay, so move your cursor somewhere to down here, but to the left side of the bottom, and click. Then it will change to asking you right bound. So go to the right of the bottom and click. And then it will say guess. Move your cursor to where you think it is and click.
Wait, what?
You should have a left, a right, and then a middle.
So you gotta go to trace.
Second trace. Minimum. It'll find the minimum value of a graph.
So right. No, right
To
now.
the left of it, it tells you instructions at the bottom. Left bound.
I already
Right
did.
bound. So right button, click it. Then guess. Go in the middle. Go as close to the bottom point as you can get and click it.
Yeah.
And it gives you your minimum point right there.
Well, what does the minimum point mean?
1.5 and negative 9.25.
Oh, okay. It's actually
Smart board.
It's actually 1.4999.
No, your calculator's just not close. So the way you can fix that is if you zoom in, you get a more accurate point. But you know that repeating nines round up.
Yeah, we went over that, Mr. Holt.
This, the perfect square form, tells you your vertex.
Whoa, that's cool.
So what you were thinking, Satya, was when in this form, the opposite of the x and the opposite of this value tell you your vertex. That's what you were thinking of.
Yeah.
Does not tell you your zeros because this is not quadratic form. Does that make sense? You remember all that now? We're jogging this. So these solutions or the zeros, we're going to do the same thing but hit second trace and now click zeros. And it's going to, again, left bound, right bound, give you an answer. Or left bound, right bound, guess. What's up? Oh, you have it turned off.
How does that work?
It says
Why are you
calculations
doing
are not.
Exactly, I don't know.
You have a plot on too. I'm about to reset everything. You got a bunch of plots on and everything else. I'm clearing this.
Okay.
You have to clear them out all the time, anyways. Like for tests or
What
whatever.
is guess mean?
Please don't error me.
What does the guess mean?
It
Put your
aired
point
me.
as close to the middle as you can. Like as close to what you're looking
About this.
for. So if you got an error, try again. You probably put your points in the wrong place. You might need to make it a little bit wider.
I already tried it again.
So you go a little bit to the left of what you want, and then what?
Press drop.
Okay, so what do we try?
Alright, you got one equals now.
Nani, what you want?
Yeah, be careful. You're probably in radians if you do anything where that
I
matters.
press trace and then
You are zoomed too low to find your zeros because your x-axis is way up here.
I press.
Yeah, how'd you zoom in?
HSM2 actually did that.
I would zoom standard. If you screw up the zoom, you can always go back to zoom standard, which is 6 in that menu option, and then reset from there. Now, so everybody graph that. I want to show you a couple things about the TI. Graph that, and just chill for a moment. Just graph it and chill. I want to talk to you about the zoom. Everybody graph it. Go to zoom, like hit the zoom button, and then hit 6 to get the standard zoom. Just make sure we all have the same thing. Graph the parabola, standard zoom. Then, a very convenient option in the zoom menu. Go click on the zoom menu. Zoom in is just straight up zoom your screen in. Zoom out, same thing. I forget what all menus are on this one. Z square, click on Z square, number 5. And it takes a second to pull your parabola back up. The cursor you're now controlling is the corner of a square that will be the new screen you decide to zoom into. So go down into the left of the parabola. Go down to like negative 4, 4 or something like
Wait, I
that.
pressed zoom square. It didn't.
Just let it reload, and then now you have a little cursor to go down with that. So we're gonna click, and then make a box.
Okay.
What do you click?
You just click wherever you want to set a boundary point of the box.
Okay. I did that. So do I click enter? Okay.
I think I hit a wrong button. I think I hit the plus
How do
sign
these
by
charge?
accident.
I think I
USB.
hit a couple of wrong buttons.
Couple.
Wait, I clicked enter and did. Oh yeah, the box.
So do you click enter then?
I'm actually sorry. I think I might be thinking zoom box.
Negative 4, 4.
Yeah, I think you are.
Square, standard, tree.
I'm gonna pretend like I know what you're talking about.
Wow, these are new. These are different options than what used to exist.
What?
Yeah, you were thinking
What
zoom
happened
box.
now?
Oh my god, there's so many.
I think we might need to center the square. Actually, that cursor might be a center.
Zoom trig.
Zoom frac.
Don't just
So
push
we can
random
play with
buttons.
these.
Zoom.
Oh, I broke my calculator.
Hey, I did it.
Zoom square.
You should
No,
break
there's
Should
zoom
it look like
square.
that?
Yeah.
There's
How'd
no
you get to
box.
that?
Okay. So
You
instead
search.
I'm just go to zoom and Z box.
Oh yeah.
Did you
So
press
I
Yes.
I was thinking we were going to Z box instead of Z square. Z box is where you can totally set your box wherever you want.
Mr. Hudson?
Yeah, so then you can zoom, you can see the box expand out as you go.
Hudson.
So if you really wanted to zoom in on the bottom of the parabola, a Z box there, and I have very detailed points. Like I will get a better answer there. Always we can reset to zoom standard.
Mr. Hudson.
You either cleared your parabola or you zoomed into a point that it's still loading. So at the top right. So what you did, it's just still trying to process. These are very basic computer guys.
How do I clear it?
You can't, you're stuck.
Can't turn
You
it off?
can no. You literally can just get stuck loading like the blue screen of death or whatever the circle on Xbox is. If you're stuck with a loading wheel at the top right, you just have to wait because the processor's stuck. Like it won't be stuck forever, but you just have to wait. Or sometimes second quit will get you out of it, but sometimes it won't. So completing the square. Let's go to why the quadratic formula matters.
I'm making a box.
So you can play with your calculators on whatever time you want. If we go and try to type this in quadratic form. Now one thing that you can do, especially once you own your own calculator, is make a quadratic formula in your calculator so that it asks you what's A, what's B, and what's C. Sometimes it's preloaded.
Can you see if mine?
Yeah.
That's it.
So once we know the quadratic formula, we can just solve anything?
Yeah. You don't need perfect square form. You don't need anything special. Where's program on here?
Here.
Where do you get the like? Your
Middle, bottom four,
Y
middle.
equals negative 6.171 e
It
to
doesn't have
negative
any
5.
programs.
It has a program.
Jake, I want to see your calculator. since I
Program
just
right
did
here.
it.
And then, yeah, it's x equals
X
1.5.
squared
Well, I
equals
get back to
x
that.
equals 1.54.
The what? What is
So 3 buttons in and down. Everyone hit PRGM. Hit PRGM.
Program.
That stands for program. If you own your own calculator or you have one of these, now here's the issue. You walk into any standardized test, they're going to clear your calculator. If you write the program for the quadratic, you can actually set it up that when you go to execute it, it just asks you what's your A value, what's your B value, what's your C value, and it does it for you. It spits out both answers. It's actually a really simple program to write. All you have to do is like plug in the quadratic to like say no, because it'd be the same thing as doing it by hand. However, like you got to be ready to be able to do it by hand when you walk into a test and they clear your calculator. So that's an option. You can write the program in your calculator.
Can we do that right now?
We can be ready to write the program.
It's not your calculator.
Yeah, you can just real quickly like do it again.
Wait,
So no, not right now because it'll take time and failures, and then you'll learn and you'll get better. And actually, if you just Google like programming a TI with the quadratic, like there's videos for it that people have shot, screencasts.
How much do these cost?
Like $100. You can find them on special. Yeah, normally like 130 for the color ones. They're like 130, 140,
What?
and they're rechargeable too, which is why they're more expensive.
Calculators.
What do you spend on your cell phone?
Huh?
What'd you spend on your cell phone?
300.
0.
Yeah, that's probably with a plan. If you were to buy your phone outright, it's probably 600. And you're gonna scoff at a calculator that will last you forever versus a phone that will last you maybe 2 years.
I got my phone for 9 years. No, you have. Yeah, I have.
0. I got it.
Satya, if I call up your parents right now and ask them how long you've had a
You were
phone,
4
I
when you had the
guarantee it's not 9
My
years.
mom had it and then she gave it to me.
That's
So that doesn't mean
That doesn't
had
mean
it for
you
9 years.
had it.
The phone might have been 9 years.
All right, so here's what we need to know. We need to know how to do it manually. So hands off the calculator for a second. This, we should be able to quickly recognize A, B, and C values out of that quadratic. So what's A?
None. 1. 1.
Ah, that's the danger. A's not none, it's 1.
I said 1 like 4 times.
B is what?
Negative 3.
C is what?
Negative 7. Genius.
So then we do both of these. Now here's where using your calculator and knowing how to second entry is really useful. Type all of this in, but plugging in the appropriate B value and the appropriate everything. Now if you want to make your life really easy, always put your values in parentheses so you could then go replace them with other values, either positive or negative. So what I would type into my calculator if I was you, negative parenthesis negative 3 parenthesis plus square root, and it will open a parenthesis, open another one, negative 3 squared minus, you could do parenthesis 4 times a times c, I'm out of space now, 1, negative 7, and then there's another parenthesis out here, I just can barely fit it on my screen.
Could you simplify this in any way?
How do I get out of
Not
program?
really.
Second. Where's quit?
4.
So if you want my real advice, put your numerator in a parenthesis too. And you can always go back and add extra parentheses if you realize that you didn't by doing second.
How do you get out of the program?
Second quit, dude. Always second quit.
Mr. Hudson, I don't think this is a simplification.
Where's quit?
But could you divide negative 4ac by 2a like already?
No, it's stuck in a
Negative 2c.
square root. That's
Oh.
breaking rules. And you can't pull the 4 out either.
No.
4.1 minus 7.
We could spend a lot of time talking about why we can't do the things that you're trying to do. But think about it. If this is one of the most notorious formulas, don't you think people would have done it already?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Like if there was a way to make it bigger.
4 times 1 times.
Here, in the formula.
Oh.
Minus 4ac. And all of that needs to be in your square root. So then you close your square root, and then you close your numerator. So if this parenthesis, really you just want to count parentheses, the minute it opens you need to have that many closed.
Wait.
So this is grouping my b.
And you divide that by
This is my square root parenthesis. This is grouping my b. Then I square it. Minus 4 times a times c. I close that group. I close my square root. I close my numerator.
You get like
So I really will have a triple stack of parentheses. But then divide by, in parentheses, 2 times a. Right? I would always put the denominator in parentheses, because otherwise it could divide first and then multiply, and that's wrong.
Where is the minus? I don't know.
it's right
You
there.
probably
after
want the
0
negative.
point minus. Right here, negative. You get like 0.6.
Well, this does need to be a minus. This does need to be a minus.
More parentheses.
I got 6.9449471.
Hang on. I can verify your answer here in a second.
I'm most likely better.
You're a coffee.
Are you sure?
I got errors and
So what?
Coffee. I wrote it in the scrap.
Yes, there is. There.
Wait.
Oh, how do you do that?
Oh, no, not if you put it in the y equals space.
Mr. Hudson, does
No.
it seem good? Wait, but how do you copy?
If you're out in the main menu, I'm going to tell you in just a second. You should be getting the answers 4.54 and negative 1.54.
Not even.
So, let me borrow one of these.
1.5 and 1.5.
Let me turn on my dot camera. Give me just a second. We will walk through this together.
I didn't divide it by 2.
Dot camera going on the TV. Alright, I'm going to start typing this really quick.
Yeah, I got an error too.
Why are we just making random noises? We are 8th graders.
And then I defined that. No, I cleared it.
You can just go back out.
It doesn't like me.
Press the little up arrow.
It's not there because I cleared it.
Did you clear the memory?
No, I cleared the question after I
Alright. This is going to be kind of hard to see, so stick with me. I'm going to move this to the TV.
Why is it orange? Why does this paper smell like water?
6.0.
Hold up.
Focus camera.
Gosh darn the freaking.
Alright, check it out. This,
Negative 7, you forgot that.
now I'm not even 100% sure that I'm accurate right now. Start my numerator. Negative b. And I have b in parentheses. B is negative 3, so negative b is going to end up positive, but just trust me, type it in like this because then you'll be able to recycle this being typed in. Then plus or minus, we're just doing the plus right now. Radical, this opens the radical. So then I'm going to put b inside of its own parenthesis, and then square only b. Right? So those parentheses match each other.
Wait, 4 times 1 times 7.
Then minus 4ac parenthesis. You are right. I need to go edit so I can bump back in second insert. So second delete is actually your insert, and then I can insert my negative, make sure it's not a minus, it's a negative. This parenthesis closes my 4ac. This parenthesis closes my square root. This parenthesis should not be under the square root. I don't know why my calculator is showing it like that. That closes my numerator.
I got it!
Chill.
What? No, it still won't. If you bump out, there we go. So you may need to bump out with the right right cursor. Then divided by parenthesis 2 times a. I'm actually going to type it in even though it's like y.
Wait, how do I go back on?
We should get 4.54.
Okay, I got it this time. It wasn't me.
Wait, but if you get 4.54, then are the zeros positive and negative 4.54?
No. So then, Satya, this is what I mean by you don't even give me a moment to continue teaching before you ask, and you make those assumptions in your head, and that's what's hurting you.
No, I know that's wrong.
But then don't ask it. Just wait. Or ask, how do we find the other zero?
Okay, how do we find the other zero?
We use this form of the quadratic, which is the easiest thing you're going to do all day. Hit second, and then enter, plugs in everything you just typed in.
Oh, I just went up and pressed enter on it.
Then, no, because I want to see both at the same time.
No, it does work if you go.
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have my old school method. Then I just change this to minus. Not a negative, a minus. And then I get my other zero. I guess I should have put this on the other screen for anyone that watches it. So, there, for anyone playing along at home. So, wait, so the other method, Jacob, you said now with the new color calculators, I can just go highlight this and hit enter and it will copy it?
That's what it did for me.
Aha! Good strategy.
Wait, what?
They didn't used to do that, like on the old ones, so that's new programming they put in there.
They both have the same decimal. Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's probably because of what it's square rooting. That probably comes from the square root. Yeah.
My calculator says I have an error.
Then you have a minus instead of a negative, or vice versa. Or you're missing a parenthesis. You need to go trace back what happened. You will learn more by finding it yourself than if I find it. So Nidden, don't find it for him. So now, here's the strategy for recycling your quadratic. You go into the parentheses and just redo it. So I move on to problem 97, which I'm going to put up on the TV since no one brings their books. That's a hyperbole statement, I know. Most of you do.
I do.
So now, A is 3, B is 7, C is 2. But be careful, I replace one at a time. So the only places that I really use A, I moved the whole thing. The only places that I really use A is in the denominator and the 4AC. Right? So if I want to go change those in the denominator and the 4AC, my A here, I change from my 1 to my A of 3. And then in my denominator, 2 times instead of 1, I change it to 3. Then go back and get all your B's. And this is where singing the song in your head can help. Negative B. Okay, so this needs to change to a 7. B squared. I need to change this one. For a C, I don't need any other B's. Then my C for a C changes from negative 7 to 2. You should be practicing this to see if you can actually do it accurately. So then check it. Negative B, right? My negative 7. Now I can do plus or minus. B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. We look good. Try it. we get a negative third. Second entry, which I actually think is less keystrokes, in my opinion.
Speed runner.
And then we come back and change this to minus. So you want to try both of these and make sure you get those answers. Apparently, if I did it right, which I'm going to check the book, but it should be -2 and -3.
That's what I got.
I trust Jacob as much as I trust the book.
Negative.
So, to practice this skill and just get comfortable with the calculator, do this for B, C, and D. Use the quadratic to solve B, C, and D. Now, alternatively, like if you don't have a graphing calculator, yeah, but I'm going to freeze my screen
I
to
have
kind
the
of keep
exact
the...
same thing as you. I don't have the
Now
same
hold up.
answer.
Alternatively, if you don't have a graphing calculator, my advice would be do a chunk at a time. Do the square root section first, and then write that down somewhere. Then, -b plus, like break it apart. So if you find the square root section first, that's the hardest thing to solve. You can find your -b, and then your 2a, and then you can just set it up and solve it both ways. You don't have to have a graphing calculator to do this. It just makes this sort of stuff a whole lot easier. Questions?
I got -3 and -8. I have the same thing you have.
So I will just go ahead and put what answers you're shooting for up here. So if you made a mistake, you need to go back and find the mistake. This is honestly the best way that you learn, like working with the quadratics, is just practicing it. So like on your homework, don't be a lame-o and like use homework help or whatever. Like get a graphing calculator, like borrow one from me if you need or whatever, and solve these. Now alternatively, we could graph it in Desmos or something and find the zeros that way. Oh, I need to unfreeze mine.
Wait, I have one.
So there's the answers you're actually going for.
I have one extra parenthesis. How do I get rid of that?
Go back in, like edit, like scroll back to it.
I have the same thing you have.
Oh, you can delete. Not clear, but delete. Yeah, delete the single things. -b minus square root
2.
minus 4ac.
I got it.
I think your C is wrong, isn't it? Or which one are you doing?
I'm doing A. I just had them mixed up.
Why did I get
I
it?
switched A and C, which shouldn't matter. Right?
Okay, that was a perfect number.
4C.
Dude, you're doing exactly what I said would screw you up.
Oh, really? Damn it.
Using you as an example, sorry.
Make your
Chris
answer
is
full.
doing exactly what I said not to.
Do you have to keep it right? I had what you had up there though.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, you don't. You want to put some money on it?
I'm pretty sure you did.
Okay. How much you want to bet?
I don't want to bet anything.
Well, how confident are you? Because if you're going to keep
Wait,
telling me
why
I'm
is
wrong.
it?
I'm pretty sure.
Mr. Hudson.
Why is what Chris has on his calculator getting the wrong answer?
No parentheses. No parentheses.
The parentheses.
Not in your denominator, you don't. Right now, this calculator, following what process it's been taught, is working left to right. It does the division and then triples, which is going to get you an answer 9 times like off, like a factor of 9 wrong. So, Richner, not trying to make you feel bad or anything, but the way that we easily fix this, edit to add a parenthesis right here and right out here. That will force the order of operations to happen correctly. Notice how you are a factor of 9 off, because instead of dividing by that 3, it was multiplying by that 3, which puts you 9 away from where you should be. Like 9 times away from where you, does that make sense? Parentheses in the denominator are a must, unless you're going to manually calculate 2a in your head and just type it in as what it is.
I've gone over it and I can't see what I got wrong.
Whoever has mine, yeah.
See if your minus is a negative.
How much are you betting, Chris?
Oh, I have one more number.
How much are you betting, Chris?
How much?
Which one was it?
How much are you? I don't care. Here's where we started today. Here's right there is where we started today. Here, I'll even just copy it.
See?
Denominator. I don't know what he's doing with that extra 2. Parentheses in the denominator are a must.
Alright, cool.
Steven, can I have that back now?
Alright, this
You can.
highlighted one is where you were just at. So if you want to copy it, just
That's
hit
wrong.
enter.
Stephen, you're wrong.
Oh! So here's the huge benefit of the calculator's new coding, letting you like highlight something and copy it. Even if it wasn't the last thing you typed in, like it was 10 things ago, you can go up, grab it, and hit enter to copy it back down to the
And
newest
it's going
thing.
to highlight all the things before it.
No, I think you'll just grab that one thing.
Mr.
and send
Hudson.
it down.
Tried adding the parentheses.
Yeah, what did I do?
On the denominator.
What?
I've checked it. Steven checked it.
Literally every problem?
Yeah.
No. That's stupid. Somebody wrote that code wrong.
Wait, what is it?
Are you sure?
What happened?
You can
Just
try
figure out
it
the
too.
snowman or
But if we go up like 3 problems and grab that,
You did probably type that in.
No, I just hit enter and just joined
no,
on.
dude. I went up 3.
Oh, I see.
I went up 3 quadratic formulas and it only copied the one.
How did that happen?
I don't know. Unless you held something down as you went up, and like, or maybe you just. I already had plugged one in, so if you did it again, that's why I stacked another one after. If you didn't solve the one that I had plugged in, you plugged in another quadratic after the quadratic I had plugged in. That's what happens there.
I tried finding the error like 4 times and I keep getting error.
Well,
Dude,
which
you
one
have
is it?
minus b typed in right now
Yeah.
instead of negative to start.
Okay, so I
He
press
even
negative.
sings it. Notice how it's a little bit smaller and a little bit higher.
Yeah, okay, so when I already tried switch.
So look through
Yes.
every minus versus negative in there.
See? In that first one, I did minus, but it didn't
I'm
work.
going back down to your most recent. Negative b plus b squared minus 4ac.
Negative.
Which one is this? D?
B.
B?
Negative B minus.
Satya, I'm trying to help you. You singing and distracting me is not helpful. So you said you're doing B. B is 9. B is negative 9.
Wait, are there worksheets without the answers?
It's called the book.
Yeah, it's covered in
No, but like, is there like a pre-organized? Never mind.
Or the teacher book.
Like a teacher book without the answers.
That's called your book.
A word
Yeah.
book.
But we can't write in it.
You buy one or why write it?
Our textbook's so much money.
Because it's a lot of pages.
Because it's teaching you an entire.
Dude, you don't have an error anymore. Now that we changed that minus to a
If
negative,
you buy a
you're fine.
textbook, you can
No, but if
essentially
I go
go
up
through
here-
an entire class.
Then you had some other mistake.
Wait.
Or entire grade.
Alright.
No, I'm just saying.
That's basically an entire grade.
That's what screwed you up. This, that you got the wrong answer. It's going to divide by 2 and then multiply by 2. You have to put the 2 times 2 in parentheses, like with each other to group those, like associative property wise. Now you have an extra 2 on the bottom.
This right here.
I want to go to the right one.
That's mine.
Here.
You still have.
Should be a minus, not a subtract.
Okay, never mind. You had an extra 2 up
Yeah.
there. Now that parenthesis groups your numerator, right? That's your denominator grouped together. And then all of this checks out. That's a negative, that's a minus, that's a negative. Negative, negative. There we go.
No.
Square root.
Now make sure you get the negative 2.5 also.
Now let me see what I get wrong this time.
Some other thing.
Oh, you had another thing that was also wrong. You had another thing.
I got negative 2.5, which is good.
Yeah, it's negative.
I did it right. I'm proud of myself.
Somebody stole my calculator. My calculator.
It's D is the one that has no answer.
All right, now really quickly with part D.
Common knowledge. Part of the reason is that it has been given a terrible, terrible name.
So
Remember,
check this out.
all our friends are here. So important. Our polynomial has a.
Nah, I'm gonna let you watch the
given
first
a
couple
function,
minutes.
f of x is equal to x
I'm
squared plus
freezing
1.
it.
I know.
We can graph our function and get a nice parabola. Now, let's say we want to figure out where the equation.
So up on the TV, I have parabola
we want
D,
to find the
right?
On our plot, this should be where the function.
So stop what you're doing for like the last 2 minutes of class. Just stop what you're doing. We'll come back to this. By the way, I'm out tomorrow. Whatever the sub tells you you're gonna do, like I think you're just gonna be working on your own through stuff. But I'm never that concerned about your class. So just whatever the sub gives you instructions, just do that. Be cool, please. But this we're not to imaginary numbers yet, but I want to let you understand what, like, right now we're going to call no solution, but really there is.
Crosses the x-axis. As we can see, our parabola actually.
So does this function cross the
According
x-axis?
to our plot, there are
No,
solutions
quote
to
unquote.
the equation x squared plus 1 is equal to 0. But there's a small problem. A little over 200 years ago, a smart guy named Gauss proved that every polynomial equation of degree n has exactly n roots. Our polynomial has a highest power, or degree, of 2, so we should have 2 roots. And Gauss's discovery is not just some random
Now,
rule.
not
It's
two
what we call the
real
fundamental theorem
roots,
of algebra.
but just 2 roots.
So our plot seems to disagree with something so important, it's called the fundamental theorem of algebra, which might be a problem. What Gauss is telling us here is that there are 2 perfectly good values of x that we could plug into our function and get 0 out. Where could these 2 missing roots be? The short answer here is that we don't have enough numbers.
So the
We
issue
typically think of numbers existing on a
is we need something squared to be -1, right? That's the problem we're going to run into. So listen to this right now, and this is what makes the jump between real numbers and imaginary numbers.
one-dimensional continuum, the number line. All our friends are here. 0, 1,
Watch,
negative numbers,
Jacob,
fractions,
watch.
and even
Trust me,
irrational
watch.
numbers like root 2 show up. But this system is incomplete. And our missing numbers are not just further left or right. They live in a whole new dimension. Algebraically, this new dimension has everything to do with a problem that was considered impossible for over 2,000 years. The square root of -1. When we include this missing dimension in our analysis, our parabola gets way more interesting. Now that our input numbers are in their full 2-dimensional form, we can see how our function x squared plus 1 really behaves. Our function does cross the x-axis. We were
So
just looking in the
these
wrong dimension.
imaginary
So why
roots,
is this extra
the
dimension?
quote-unquote imaginary roots, are out here on a separate plane of numbers that we right now can't comprehend. Right? We're not smart enough. I'm barely smart enough, and I teach this stuff. So this other plane exists, but it's not in the real number system that we're so used to working in. Okay, we're out of time. We're actually over time. So if you want to talk more about this, I'm happy to talk more about this. But y'all got to go to lunch.
When he said the number line, that's a 2-dimensional thing.
Yeah.
And then he went again 2-dimensional. He should have gone this way or that way.
Well, see, I kind of look like it as a 3rd dimension off of the existing 2 dimensions, right? Like, because this comes up out. But it depends on if you're thinking about all of it together or just the one plane in itself.
Yeah.
Because, like, a plane is just 2-dimensional, right? But if I look at a plane with another plane going a different direction, I now have a 3rd dimension.
And also, shouldn't it keep going up?
The numbers are less.
This? No, it hits a bottom at some point.
No, I mean, no, the rest of it.
Oh, it would be going through the table.
A 3-dimensional.
Through the table, out
Yeah, but
the
rest
other
of it
way.
keeps going because it goes up that way.
You? I'll take your calculators, guys. So, if you want to find this video, just search imaginary numbers are real, and you will find this video. I bought the workbook that goes with it, and we will be working through that here in a little while.
I kind of want to, like,
So wait, did somebody borrow? I need to figure out if somebody